Hollywood Screens. Großes Kino. In Perfektion genießen.
Ja, herzlich willkommen auf der anderen Seite der Vereinigten Staaten, wo auch unsere Leinwände sehr beliebt sind und ich die Möglichkeit habe, jetzt Axel Ericsson von DigitalArts zu treffen, die in einem der wenigen DCI-zertifizierten 4K Screening Rooms mit unseren Leinwänden arbeiten. Ich wünsche Ihnen dabei viel Spaß. New York, die Weltstadt schlechthin. Weltweites Finanzzentrum, 19 Millionen Einwohner und wegen der Multikulti-Szene auch in Bezug auf Kunst und Kultur weltweit prägend. Das gilt ebenfalls für die Filmindustrie, die Hollywood um nichts nachsteht. Schauplätze wie das Empire State Building, der Times Square, die Brooklyn Bridge oder der Central Park sind dadurch weltweit berühmt geworden. Dementsprechend sind in New York auch viele Post-Production-Studios zu finden und eine der besten Adressen davon, speziell für 4K-Bildbearbeitung, ist unser Leinwandkunde DigitalArts.
DigitalArts is a New York studio. We have 12,000 square feet of facility servicing the television and film industries. And we work with anything from studio movies for Hollywood all the way down to indie films. Blue Jasmine was mixed here. This is the Woody Allen movie, Blue Jasmine. Non-Stop, that is a Joel Silver movie with Liam Neeson, that was also mixed over here. We finished on a more indie side a 4K movie that was done for a bunch of media, and that was all done in 4K in real time. And by the way, the screen looked fantastic for that. Just the precision of the image was quite incredible with that. We were the first 4K facility on the East Coast years ago, and we're really pushing the new generation of technology with 4K and UHD, which needs very high resolution imagery. The tradition there was, and perf screens were also very big back then. But in the digital age at 4K, there were a few issues with perf. One of them being that you have a digital sensor that's coming, the cameras have a digital sensor. The projector itself, which is a Christie 4K by the way, it's one of the best in the world, has a digital sensor. And once you put that against a perf screen, which has a lot of patterns as well, you will get some moiré effects. At the level we work with, the filmmakers want a perfect image. They want to experience what is being experienced in the, on the retail level and not have any distractions. Once we we did some screens and we tested a lot of screens, by the way, screen materials. Once we put it against a colorimeter, we're really amazed how uniform it was and also as far as white color, how white balance it was for DCI specs. We also are DCI compliant in terms of the screen on the image side, which means a certain spec of uniformity. We need an image uniformity across side to side that is basically near perfection. We actually go beyond the spec and make sure that we calibrate even beyond that. So this is a room where actually filmmakers, directors, producers, and creative talent artists work in this room to actually finish the movie. And this room is built for the last phase of the movie. You know, JBL was the big dominant player in the retail world, and we looked at that very carefully. At the time, Meyer was just coming up with their Acheron series. And Acheron, you know, I'm a big Meyer fan. I have a long tradition of having worked in the recording world, in the studio recording world, and Meyer to me is one of the gold standards. So I contacted them and we had long discussions and really looked at what they were doing. And we finally decided to pull the trigger on it. So this is all Meyer sound. Every single speaker is EQ'd. And then we maintain this on an ongoing basis. Dolby comes in and calibrates the room on a regular basis. Prior to any big mix that we do, the room will get fully recalibrated. This, in the scheme of things, this is a 30-seat theater, right? We've had 30 people in here. You know, if we want to do a screening, besides working on a movie, you know, it's not that big of a theater, and it sounds, you know, it blows away most retail theaters. When we did this environment, there's a huge amount of acoustic treatment behind all this fabric that you see around you. There is a significant amount of work that goes into the acoustic treatment of the place. The levels of sound pressure in this environment exceed what you have in a home theater. You know, it's what you have in a movie theater. We hit all the way to 120 decibels of, especially on a subwoofer, of sound pressure, all the way down to 20 hertz. So we have to take in consideration things like rattles in the room, you know, to make sure the room doesn't rattle. Otherwise, you start hearing a lot of shaking around you. And to make sure there's no distortion on the bass. I think a lot of retail venues sometimes don't spend the money where they should. On the audio, for example, you know, we think there are better ways and there are better speakers than what you hear in most retail venues. That being said, I mean, I know you're from Germany, and this is, you know, I'm a big fan of German engineering. There are a lot of theaters that do it right and sound fantastic. But you know, in a smaller environment, you're going to get a tighter acoustics as well. So your room is going to sound a lot tighter. And if you do it right, and you spend the money and you really do your research, you can get a great experience in a home theater. I mean, sometimes it's, you know, it's, first of all, it's more intimate, okay. And you know, you don't have to share the theater with everybody else, which is, I think, always a plus. You know, just you can definitely make it sound great and have this great experience. Well, I think the idea is that you want to replicate, you know, as much as possible what, you know, studios like us create, which is the highest environment, and really be able to see what a filmmaker experiences when he creates a film. That's at the end what you're trying to just replicate that experience, right? Yeah. So I mean, for that, as opposed to look at one element of it and say, hey, I'm going to buy a fancy set of speakers, and that's it. Just look at the whole package you're putting together and really see, okay, you know, what kind of screen do you want? Don't look at the brands, but really look at the quality of each element. Put an overall budget together. Talk to a designer. There are many designers who really specialize in doing this. You know, another mistake people make all the time is put the speakers below the screen. Well, then, you know, you're looking at your screen, and there's a very specific placement that is recommended and that really sucks you into the image, which is 2/3 of the way up. So the idea of putting your speakers behind the screen is important as well. Just look at all that together and just make sure that all the components really, you have the same level of quality everywhere, on sound, on image, and look at every detail and bring a professional so they can calibrate it and they can make it look great and get the best out of your product. Hey, thanks for coming. It's great to have you here and finally seeing the room in action after the installation. Take care, goodbye.
Ja, und das war's dann auch schon. Vielen Dank für Ihr Interesse an dem Video. Der kleine Ausflug hier, zum einen natürlich durch Amerika, aber auch mit ein paar Infos rund um das Thema Post-Production mit unserem Image-Screens bzw. Hollywood-Screens BS65K Tuch, welches es exklusiv bei uns gibt. Wenn Sie noch Fragen haben rund um die Leinwände oder auch zum Thema Heimkino, dann freuen wir uns natürlich sehr über Ihre Kontaktaufnahme, über das Kontaktformular auf unserer Webseite. Ansonsten gibt es auch viele weitere interessante Specials auf unserer Website bzw. dem YouTube-Channel zu entdecken. Und da wünsche ich Ihnen viel Spaß dabei und vielleicht sehen wir uns dann demnächst mal. Vielen Dank und tschüss.